Hey, what's up, Bronco Nation? Today we're going to do a deep dive under the hood of my 2.7 liter V6 Badlands to tackle a classic, the DIY oil change. Today I'm going to be walking you through every step from pulling the drain plug to torquing down the oil filter canister. Let's get greasy. All right, before we start, let's gather our supplies. You're going to need an oil pan, a socket and ratchet set, including a 15mm socket and a 27mm socket, 6 quarts of 5W30 motor oil, a brand new oil filter plug, a pick, protective eyewear, gloves, a filter, some shop towels, and a torque wrench. Let's go ahead and let's get started. All right, our first step is going to be to remove our belly pan. We're going to need to remove these screws underneath the belly pan using a 15mm socket. I'm going to go ahead and use an impact gun. That's a nice, easy way to get these out. Now, supporting the belly pan, we're going to go ahead and remove it. And place that to the side. Next, we're going to come to the top of the motor. We're going to find our oil fill cap. We're going to go ahead and remove this, and this will help the flow of the oil as it exits the engine, and that will avoid us from having a big mess down below. All right, next we're going to remove the yellow oil drain plug. I'm going to go ahead and get it started with a pair of pliers. And then continue loosening it until the oil drains out. Next, we're going to identify our oil filter cartridge, and we're going to go ahead and remove that using a 27mm socket. Next, let's go ahead and bring that canister over to the workbench. All right, our next step is take the oil filter canister and remove these 3 O-rings and replace them with the brand new ones that came with our oil filter kit. To do that, you're going to want to go ahead and get a pick and get that pick right behind these O-rings. Go ahead and pull them off one by one. Next, go ahead and replace the new ones. Make sure you get them right down inside of these grooves. These are all your threads to screw this back on. You do not want that O-ring up in here. This last one is probably the hardest, so just take your time getting it in there. And then make sure you get it right there in that little notch. Now, I'm going to clean this out with just a little bit of brake clean. You don't have to do this, but call me meticulous. Residual oil out. And just go ahead and wipe everything down with a fresh paper towel. All right, next, go ahead and put your filter back on, and it should push all the way down like such. Now, let's go ahead and let's reinstall this in the car. All right, coming back underneath the hood, you're going to want to go ahead and reinstall the oil filter canister. Go ahead and just take a little bit of fresh motor oil and rub that here on the O-rings, and that will just lubricate these seals up just a little bit before you put this back in. Now, go ahead and reinstall your canister. You can go ahead and you can start it by hand. You can get a wrench inside of here to help you out. We're going to go ahead, we're going to get this just a little tight, and we're going to bring in our torque wrench. We're going to torque this down to 18 foot-pounds torque. All right, now go ahead and get a torque wrench. Power it up, make sure you set it to 18 foot-pounds torque. All right, with that done, let's go ahead and get back underneath the engine and reinstall that oil drain plug. Okay, now what you're going to want to do is replace that oil drain plug simply for the reason that these things can get dry rotted and crack, and you also have a fresh O-ring on this. So these are pretty cheap to buy. If you don't want to buy the Motorcraft one, it's a little expensive. You can buy a pack of these on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. But you're going to go ahead and just put that right in and torque it right down. It doesn't take much work. What you're going to do is make sure it clicks. And there's a little tongue and groove there. You want to make sure that sits. Once that's in there, it really doesn't back off all that easily. You remember I had to put a pair of pliers on this to get that to go. So with that back in, let's go ahead and let's start filling up the oil. All right, our next step is going to go ahead and fill up the motor oil. We're going to be using 6 quarts of 5W30. I like the Mobile One brand just because I've been using it for years. A lot of you guys like Valvoline, Castrol. You've told me a number of different things. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and use my Trusted and True and start filling up. Go ahead and get your funnel out and place your oil cap. All right, with that all done, we're going to go ahead and put our belly pan back in place. Okay, so now that we have the belly pan reinstalled, we just hopped back inside the Bronco. And normally we'd be done with the oil change at this point, but there's one more really important step that we have to do. And that's to prime the oil system before we fire it up. And this is important because it will prevent some premature wear and tear on the motor. And it's a pretty simple thing to do. So go ahead and hold down the brake pedal and the gas pedal at the same time. And you're going to go ahead and find the start button and go ahead and push that. And what that's going to do is that's going to crank the motor without actually turning it on. It's going to sound pretty gnarly, but here we go. All right, it'll do this for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then go ahead and release the pedals. Now you can go ahead and start the engine normally. Go ahead and let it idle for a few more minutes and check for any leaks. All right, last and final step. We need to go ahead and reset the oil life indicator. And this is going to let the Bronco's computer know that we've done a fresh oil change. So with the ignition turned on in your instrumentation cluster, go ahead and push the back button to go to your menu, and you're going to scroll until you can find the settings menu. Hit OK on the steering wheel, and then you'll go down to the oil life submenu, hit OK again, and hold the OK button to reset the oil life. You should see that oil life now go back to 100%, and boom, you are done. So there you have it. You've just conquered the Bronco's oil change like a true off-road warrior. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below. And hey, if you found this video helpful, smash that like button and subscribe to Rusty's Bronco for more Bronco tips, tricks, and adventures. Until next time, let's keep those Broncos rolling.